Imagine a universe where every species is armed, except one. The Galactic Assembly's golden rule is simple: no weapons, no exceptions. But when Captain Ava Cross steps into the chamber, unarmed yet undeniably dangerous, the truth begins to unravel. Why are humans the only ones forbidden from carrying weapons? Is it for their protection, or everyone else's? The answer lies in a secret buried for centuries, a war that never happened, and a power no gun could ever match. By the time the Assembly realizes what Ava truly is, it'll already be too late. Because the deadliest weapon in the galaxy isn't a plasma rifle or a neural whip. It's a human with something to say. Please wait. Before we start, tap that iCard button in the top right corner and smash that subscribe button. Right now, hit the notification bell so you're first in line when new stories land. Alright, let's dive into the story. Chapter 1. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Assembly hummed with the low-frequency vibrations of 100 different languages, the air thick with the scent of ionist metal and alien pheromones. Towering crystalline pillars reflected the starlight pouring through the transparent dome above, casting shifting patterns across the gathered delegates. The Venari stood rigid in their sector, their chitinous exoskeletons polished to a mirror shine, pulse rifles strapped across their thoraxes. The Thalassians floated in their viscous containment fields, their translucent bodies shimmering as neural whips coiled around their appendages like living jewelry. Every species was armed. Every species except one. Captain Ava Cross adjusted the high collar of her form-fitting tactical suit, the sleek black material accentuating every curve of her athletic frame. At 32, she carried herself with the easy confidence of someone who'd stared down the barrel of a dozen interstellar conflicts and walked away every time. Her sharp green eyes flicked across the room, lingering on the weapons openly displayed by the other delegates. Still pisses you off, doesn't it? Lieutenant Naomi Kane sidled up beside her, her dark curls bouncing as she smirked. At 29, she was the youngest on the team, but her wit was razor sharp. Ava didn't look at her. You'd think after 3 years, I'd be used to it. Naomi snorted. Yeah, right. You've got that look. The one you get right before you do something reckless. This time, Ava shot her a glare. I don't do reckless. Tell that to the time you talked a Xinthian warlord into surrendering by throwing his own knife at him. That was calculated. Calculatedly insane. Before Ava could retort, a shadow fell over them. Ambassador Kale Draxus, his emerald scales glistening under the ambient light, loomed with that infuriatingly smug tilt to his serpentine jaw. Captain Cross, he hissed, his forked tongue flicking out. Still brooding over our little security protocols? Ava didn't blink, just admiring the hypocrisy. The Venari get plasma rifles. The Thalassians get neural whips. But humans, she held up her empty hands. We get a pat down at the door. Kale's slit pupils dilated, the closest thing to amusement his kind showed. You misunderstand. It's not a restriction. It's a compliment. Naomi crossed her arms. Oh yeah? How's that? The reptilian's tail twitched. Because you, dear humans, are the only species in this room who don't need weapons to be dangerous. Ava's fingers twitched at her side. There it was again, that veiled implication, the unspoken truth lurking beneath every interaction in this damned assembly. Dr. Marcus Reed, ever the observer, chose that moment to step in. At 35, his wild brown hair and perpetually disheveled lab coat made him look more like a distracted professor than a tactical analyst. Statistically speaking, he mused, adjusting his glasses, humans have the lowest rate of violent altercations in interspecies negotiations. Kale's grin widened. Precisely. Ava's jaw tightened. Or maybe it's because you're all terrified of what happens when we do fight back. The air between them crackled. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then Kale let out a low, rattling laugh. Oh, Captain, if only you knew. And with that, he slithered away, leaving Ava with a cold knot of suspicion in her gut. Naomi whistled. Okay, what the hell was that about? Marcus adjusted his glasses again. I believe the scientific term is a massive red flag. Ava watched Kale disappear into the crowd. We're missing something. There's a reason they won't let us carry weapons in here. Naomi smirked. So what's the plan? Sneaking a plasma pistol onto your suit? Ava shot her a look. No, we find out why first. Because one thing was certain, whatever the Galactic Assembly was hiding, it wasn't for their protection. It was for everyone else. Chapter 2. The human quarters aboard the Galactic Assembly Station were a stark contrast to the grandeur of the main hall, cramped, utilitarian, and blessedly private. Ava Cross paced the length of the room, her boots clicking against the metal floor. The faint hum of the station's life support systems did nothing to calm the restless energy coiled in her muscles. Dr. Marcus Reed hunched over a holographic display, his fingers flying across the interface as data streams flickered in the air. His wild hair looked even more disheveled than usual, sticking up in tufts where he'd been running his hands through it. Found it, he announced suddenly, pushing his glasses up his nose. Article 47, buried so deep in the archives it might as well have been a fossil. Naomi Kane leaned over his shoulder, her dark curls brushing against his cheek. And Marcus zoomed in on the text. It's a single clause, ratified 300 years ago. No human delegate shall bear arms in any formal galactic assembly proceeding. No explanation, no amendments, just law. Ava stopped pacing. That's it? No reasoning? No debate transcripts? Marcus shook his head. Nothing. But here's the weird part. It was passed unanimously. Every species in the assembly at the time voted yes. Naomi let out a low whistle. Damn, what do we do to scare everyone that badly? Ava's fingers tapped against her thigh. Or what did they think we could do? Marcus adjusted the display, pulling up a star map. The timing lines up with the last recorded contact with the Kryn Empire. Naomi blinked. The Kryn? The boogeymen of the galaxy Kryn? The ones who supposedly glassed entire systems for fun. The very same, Marcus said, and then they vanished overnight. Poof. No records, no wreckage, just gone. Ava's eyes narrowed. You think we had something to do with that? Marcus shrugged. I think it's suspicious that the most warlike species in known history disappeared right before the galaxy decided humans shouldn't be armed around them. Naomi flopped into a chair, stretching her legs out. Okay, but let's be real. If we somehow took out the Kryn, wouldn't there be like monuments? Victory parades? A really obnoxious holiday. Ava smirked. Not if it wasn't a fight. Marcus snapped his fingers. Exactly. The Kryn didn't lose a war. They stopped one. Voluntarily. The room fell silent for a moment, the implications settling like dust. Naomi broke the quiet with a snort. So what? Some human diplomat just walked in and said, "Pretty please stop being evil." And they listened? Ava crossed her arms. No, but words can be weapons too. Marcus nodded slowly. And if the assembly is scared of that, then we need to find out why. Ava finished. She turned to the display. Can you dig up anything else? Any records from that time? Marcus sighed, rubbing his temples. Maybe, but if this was buried, it was buried for a reason. I'll need to access the restricted archives. Naomi grinned. Oh good. Illegal hacking. My favorite. Ava shot her a look. We're not breaking into anything. Yet. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Yet? Ava's lips curled into a slow smile. First, we find someone who was there. Someone who remembers. Naomi groaned. Please don't say we're going to talk to the creepy Xanthian historian again. Ava grabbed her jacket from the back of a chair. Worse, we're going to find the last living Kryn. Marcus choked on his coffee. The what now? But Ava was already at the door. Suit up. We got a ghost to hunt. Chapter 3. The docking bay smelled of ionized metal and stale recirculated air as Ava's team boarded their sleek reconnaissance vessel, the Nightshade. Naomi flopped into the pilot's chair with exaggerated relief, running her hands over the controls like a musician greeting a beloved instrument. Ah, baby, did you miss me? She cooed to the ship. Marcus strapped into the co-pilot's seat, side-eyeing her. You realize that's not actually sentient, right? Naomi flipped a switch, and the engines hummed to life. Says the man who names all his lab equipment. Ava secured their gear in the back, her movements precise. Focus, children. We got a ghost to catch. The nightshade slipped out of the docking bay like a shadow, Naomi guiding them smoothly through the station's traffic lanes. Marcus pulled up a star chart, his fingers dancing across the holographic display. According to the archives, there's one last known Kryn outpost in the Zeta 9 system, he said. Abandoned, supposedly. But energy signatures suggest something's still there. Naomi raised an eyebrow. To find something, Marcus adjusted his glasses. The kind of something that makes scanners nervous. Ava leaned between their seats, studying the readouts. Set course. Maximum stealth protocols. Naomi grinned. Ooh, sneaky mode. My favorite. As the ship jumped to warp, Marcus turned in his seat. You realize this is insane, right? The Kryn were the most vicious warriors in galactic history. If there's one left, Ava buckled into her seat. Then we asked nicely. Naomi snorted. Yeah, because that worked so well with the Venari last week. That was different. Ow! I didn't have a backup plan then. Marcus groaned. That's not comforting. The nightshade dropped out of warp at the edge of the Zeta 9 system, the derelict Kryn station looming ahead like a broken claw against the stars. Naomi whistled low. Cheery place. Really gives off that welcome, we won't murder you vibe. Ava studied the scans. No active defenses. Life support is minimal, but there's power running to one section. Marcus swallowed hard. Just enough for one occupant. Naomi brought them in close, her fingers dancing over the controls. Docking in 3, 2, and we're playing footsie with history. The ship connected with a metallic thunk. Ava stood, checking her sidearm out of habit, then remembered it was empty. Galactic assembly rules. She grimaced. Naomi caught the look. Hey, if things go south, I got a wrench in the toolbox. Very persuasive. Marcus blinked. That's your plan? A wrench. It's a big wrench. Ava moved to the airlock. Stay sharp. We don't know what we're walking into. The airlock hissed open, revealing a dim corridor lined with strange, angular glyphs that seemed to shift when looked at sideways. The air was thick with the scent of ozone and something older, something that tasted metallic at the back of the throat. Marcus's scanner beeped. This way. The energy signature is strongest down this hall. Naomi peered into the darkness. Of course it is, because nothing bad ever happens in creepy dark hallways. They moved carefully, the station groaning around them like a living thing. Then, at the end of the corridor light, flickering, uneven but light, Ava stepped into the chamber first. The room was sparse, dominated by a single throne-like chair, and in it sat a figure, its golden skin dulled to ash, its 4 eyes milky with age. The last Kryn. It spoke, its voice like dry leaves scraping stone. You came. A long pause. I knew humans would. Ava didn't flinch. You know why we're here. The Kryn's mouth twisted in what might have been a smile. Article 47. Naomi stepped forward. What aren't they telling us? The ancient being leaned forward, its joints creaking. They fear what you are. What you did. Marcus adjusted his glasses nervously. And what did we do? Kryn's gaze locked onto Ava. You ended a war before it began. Chapter 4. The chamber fell silent except for the faint hum of failing life support systems. Ava took a step closer to the ancient Kryn, her boots echoing on the metal floor. The air smelled of decay and something sharper, like ozone after a storm. You're saying humans stopped your empire, she said carefully, without firing a shot. The Kryn's withered fingers twitched against the armrests of its throne. Not stopped. Changed. Naomi crossed her arms. Okay, Cryptic Space Grandpa, we're gonna need the Cliff Notes version. Marcus elbowed her. Respect the ancient, potentially dangerous alien, Naomi. The Kryn let out a sound that might have been laughter. Your kind always had spirit. It shifted painfully in its seat. 300 cycles ago, my people prepared to invade your world. Our fleets were ready. Our weapons charged. Ava's pulse quickened. What happened? The alien's milky eyes seemed to look through her. One human came aboard our flagship. Just one. Naomi blinked. One dude stopped the entire Kryn war machine. Or was he like 8 feet tall with laser eyes? The Kryn exhaled sharply. He was small, weak by our standards, carried no weapons. Its clawed hand gestured vaguely. He asked to speak to our high command. We laughed. Then we let him. Arrogance was always our weakness. Marcus leaned forward, fascinated despite himself. What did he say? The chamber lights flickered as Kryn's voice dropped lower. He told us stories. Naomi snorted. Bedtime stories scared you off? Ava shot her a warning look, but the Kryn continued, unperturbed. Stories of human history, of wars we didn't know you'd fought, of the things you'd done to each other. The alien's breathing grew labored. He showed us projections. What would happen if we invaded? Not military estimates, cultural ones. Marcus's eyes widened. You mean, Kryn's head lifted. He convinced us that conquering humanity would be our end. Not through your weapons, but through your ideas. Your rebellions. Your memes. It spat the last word like a curse. Naomi burst out laughing. Oh my God. We memed the Kryn into surrender. Ava rubbed her temples. Not memes, Naomi. Ideology. He showed them that human resistance would eat their empire from the inside. The Kryn sagged in its seat. Within 3 generations, our children would be singing your songs, wearing your clothes, questioning our ways. Its voice turned bitter. The High Command saw the truth. We recalled our fleets, and within a decade, our empire unraveled. Marcus whistled low. That's why the Assembly banned human weapons. They're not afraid of our guns. They're afraid of our culture. The Kryn's eyes dimmed. Your words are more dangerous than your warships. Your story's more powerful than your bombs. It coughed a wet, rattling sound. Now, leave me to my rest. And tell your assembly, the galaxy was right to fear you. Ava turned to leave, then paused. What was his name? The human who came to you? The Kryn's final whisper followed them into the corridor. He called himself the Diplomat. As they hurried back to the ship, Naomi shook her head in disbelief. So let me get this straight. We're banned from carrying weapons because we're basically ideological nukes. Marcus adjusted his glasses nervously. Worse, we're a virus. One speech, and we toppled the most powerful empire in the galaxy. Ava's fingers clenched at her sides. Then it's time the Assembly remembers exactly what they're dealing with. The Nightshade's engines roared to life as the ancient Kryn station faded into the darkness behind them. Somewhere in the void, history was about to repeat itself. Chapter 5. The Nightshade shuddered as it broke Atmo, leaving the derelict Kryn station behind in a haze of dying starlight. Inside the cockpit, the only sound was the steady hum of the engines and Naomi's fingers drumming impatiently against the console. So let me get this straight, she said, spinning her chair to face Ava and Marcus. The big, scary Kryn Empire, the guys who supposedly glassed entire civilizations for fun, just gave up because one human told them a bedtime story. Marcus adjusted his glasses, the holographic data from Kryn's records still flickering in front of him. Not a story, a prediction. He showed them exactly what would happen if they invaded Earth. Ava leaned against the bulkhead, arms crossed, and Marcus zoomed in on a fragmented text log. According to these records, the Kryn High Command ran simulations. Every scenario ended the same way. Human resistance adapting, evolving, infecting. Within decades, Kryn youth would be quoting human philosophy. Their soldiers would question orders. Their empire would rot from the inside out. Naomi whistled. Damn, well, like ideological termites. Ava's jaw tightened. That's why the Assembly disarmed us. They're not afraid we'll shoot them. They're afraid we'll change them. The ship's comms system crackled to life, an automated voice droning, proximity alert. Unidentified vessel on intercept course. Naomi's hands flew over the controls. Oh, come on. We just had a big reveal. Can't the universe give us 5 minutes? The view screen flickered as a sleek, gunmetal gray cruiser slid into range, its hull marked with the angular sigils of the Galactic Assembly's Enforcement Division. Marcus paled. That's the Sentinel-class interceptor. They only deploy those for high-priority targets. Ava finished, her voice grim. They knew we were digging. A harsh voice barked over the comm. Unregistered vessel Nightshade. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. By order of the Galactic Assembly, You are hereby charged with unauthorized access to restricted archives. Naomi shot Ava a look. I'm guessing, oops, our bad isn't going to cut it? Ava didn't answer. Her eyes were fixed on the Interceptor's weapons array, now glowing ominously as it charged. Marcus swallowed. They're not here to arrest us. Naomi's fingers hovered over the throttle. Ava, talk to me. Do we run or do we? The Interceptor's plasma cannons flared to life. Ava lunged into the co-pilot's seat. Punch it. The nightshade banked hard as Naomi slammed the engines to full burn, the sudden G-force pressing them into their seats. Behind them, the Interceptor's opening volley lit up the void, missing their aft by meters. Naomi hooped. Huh, eat vacuum, you overgrown. Another blast rocked the ship, sending sparks flying from the overhead panel. Marcus gripped his console, his voice strained. They've got a targeting lock. We can't outrun them. Ava's mind raced. The Interceptor was faster, better armed, but it had one weakness. She turned to Marcus. The Kryn records. Can you patch them through to the assembly's comm frequency? Marcus blinked. What? Naomi jerked the ship into a spiraling dive. Another plasma burst screaming past. I really hope you're not suggesting we talk our way out of this. Ava's smile was razor thin. Exactly. Marcus's fingers flew across the interface. I can do it, but it'll take a direct uplink. They'll have to be right on top of us. Ava nodded to Naomi. Let them get close. Naomi's eyes widened. You want me to let them? Oh, screw it. She flipped the nightshade into a braking maneuver, the sudden deceleration making the hull groan in protest. The Interceptor loomed in the view screen, close enough now that Ava could see the armored figures moving behind its cockpit glass. Marcus exhaled sharply. Transmitting now. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, the Interceptor's weapons powered down. Naomi gaped. You have to be kidding me. Ava watched as the cruiser's thrusters flared, peeling away in a sharp retreat. Marcus slumped back, dazed. They just left. Ava didn't take her eyes off the retreating ship. They got the message. Naomi shook her head in disbelief. Which was what exactly? Ava finally turned to her, the ghost of the Diplomats' strategy alive in her eyes. That some weapons don't need to be fired to win a war. The nightshade turned toward the Galactic Assembly Station, its path clear for now. But ahead, in the halls of power, a storm was waiting. And this time, Ava wouldn't be unarmed. She'd have the truth. Chapter 6. The nightshade docked at the Galactic Assembly Station with a hiss of pressurized air, its stealth systems disengaging as the airlock cycled open. Ava Cross stepped out first, her sleek black tactical suit absorbing the harsh artificial light of the docking bay. Behind her, Naomi cracked her knuckles with a grin while Marcus adjusted his glasses nervously, his free hand clutching a data pad filled with their findings. You sure about this, Ava? Marcus asked, his voice low. Walking straight into the assembly chamber after what we know, they're not going to like being cornered. Ava didn't slow her stride. Good. Naomi fell in a step beside her, rolling her shoulders. Oh, this is going to be fun. I love it when bureaucrats panic. The corridors of the station were eerily quiet, the usual hum of alien delegates absent. The few beings they passed, a pair of Venari guards, a Thalassian floating in its containment field, paused to watch them, their expressions unreadable but their tension palpable. Marcus swallowed hard. They know. Ava smirked. Let them. The massive doors to the assembly chamber loomed ahead, engraved with the sigils of 100 species. The two Kryder sentinels stationed outside stiffened as the humans approached, their armored exoskeletons clicking in alarm. Halt! One buzzed, its voice synthetic. No human is permitted entry without. Ava didn't break stride. Move. The Kryder hesitated just for a second, but it was enough. The doors slid open before her. The chamber beyond was a sea of startled faces. Delegates from every corner of the galaxy froze mid-conversation, their many eyes locking onto the three humans striding into the heart of their power. At the central podium, Ambassador Kale Draxus stiffened, his emerald scales darkening with agitation. Captain Cross, he hissed, his forked tongue flicking out. You were not summoned. Ava stopped at the base of the speaker's platform, her voice carrying effortlessly across the silent hall. We don't need to be. A murmur rippled through the assembly. The Thalassians' containment fields shimmered with unease. The Venari's grip tightened on their rifles. Kale's claws flexed. You overstep, human. Naomi crossed her arms. Funny, coming from the guy who's been lying to us for centuries. Marcus stepped forward, holding up the datapad. We know about Article 47. We know why you banned human weapons. His voice shook, but not from fear. Because the real threat was never our guns. It was our words. The chamber erupted. A Xinthian delegate reared up, its forearms waving. This is an outrage. A gelatinous pliction quivered in its tank. They were never supposed to find out. Kale slammed his tail against the podium, the cracks silencing the room. Enough. His slit pupils burned into Ava. You think revealing this changes anything? The law exists for stability. Ava didn't blink. No, it exists for control. The air between them crackled with tension. Then, from the back of the chamber, a new voice rang out, deep, resonant, and utterly unexpected. She's right. Every head turned. A massive, scarred Venari warlord stood, his chitinous armor bearing the marks of countless battles. I serve in the Kryn campaigns, he rumbled. I saw what your diplomat did. One human, one speech, and the greatest empire in the galaxy crumbled. His mandibles clicked. You fear them because they don't fight like us. They fight smarter. Kale's tail lashed. This is madness. Ava took another step forward. No, it's truth. She spread her hands, empty, unarmed. You disarmed us because you knew, deep down, that the most dangerous thing a human carries isn't a weapon. She smiled, slow and sharp. It's an idea. The chamber held its breath. Then from somewhere in the crowd, a single word whispered in awe, revolution. Kale's scales went pale, and Ava Cross knew. The game had just changed. Chapter 7. The silence in the Galactic Assembly Chamber was so absolute that Ava could hear the faint hum of Naomi's implant as it processed the scene. Every alien I was locked onto her, some with fear, some with dawning realization, and a few, like the old Venari warlords, with something like respect. Kale Draxus recovered first, his scales rippling with barely contained fury. You think this changes anything? His voice was a venomous hiss. The law stands. Humans will never be permitted to what? Ava cut him off, spreading her arms wide. Speak, think, exist without your restrictions. She took another step forward, and this time, the entire assembly seemed to lean back. You can't silence us forever. Naomi grinned, cracking her knuckles. Yeah, good luck with that. You ever tried keeping humans from talking? We invented gossip before we invented wheels. Marcus adjusted his glasses, his voice quieter but no less firm. The truth is out now. You can't put it back in a box. A murmur spread through the chamber, delegates whispering in a dozen different languages. Then, from the midst of the crowd, a small, spindly Xinthian scholar stood. Its four eyes blinked in sequence as it spoke, its voice trembling but clear. The human is correct. Kale whirled on the scholar. You dare? The Xinthian didn't back down. For 300 years, we have lied. We feared humanity's potential, so we shackled them. It turned to the assembly. But fear is no foundation for peace. A Thalassian delegate pulsed in its tank, its voice bubbling through the liquid. Then what do you propose? Ava didn't hesitate. Repeal Article 47. The chamber erupted again, but this time, the voices weren't just outrage. There was debate, argument, consideration. Kale slammed his tail against the ground, the impact echoing like a gunshot. Never. The risk is too great. The Venari warlord laughed, a deep, grating sound. Risk? You mean you fear losing control? He turned to the assembly. I say let them speak. Let them carry their weapons. If they are as dangerous as we believe, then we should want them as allies, not enemies. Ava locked eyes with Kale. Your choice, Ambassador. But know this, whether you repeal the law or not, humans won't be silent anymore. The silence stretched. Then, slowly, the Plixian delegate rose in its tank. I call for a vote. One by one, hands, claws, and tentacles lifted. The count was swift. The result, inevitable. Kale's snarl was pure venom as the verdict was announced. Article 47 is repealed. Naomi hooped, punching the air. Hell yeah. Does this mean we get guns now? Marcus groaned. Naomi, for the love of... Ava just smiled, watching as the assembly dissolved into chaos around her. The Venari warlord approached, dipping his head in respect. You play a dangerous game, human. Ava met his gaze. We always have. Across the chamber, Kale slithered away, his scales dark with rage. But Ava didn't miss the way his claws flexed. Not in anger, but in something far more telling. Fear. Because the truth was out now. Humans didn't need weapons to be dangerous. They were the weapon, and the galaxy would never forget it. And that was the end of the story. Comment below if you want the next chapter, and hit that like button. Please subscribe, turn on the bell, and as always, keep the last light burning.